Hello and welcome back to the 2024 Netrunner World Championship. It's me, it's your boy, it's Orbital Tangent, aka Josh, he, him, and I'm joined with one of my good buddies here.
Yeah, we're on a thing together. What's it called again?
I don't know, I don't listen to it.
Yeah, no one seems to listen to it. Maybe the Slums guest. Anyway, I'm Neuropantser, he, him. Good to be here. Good to be back on the mic for the top 16. Josh, this is round 3 of the top 16. People have already exited the top 16. We have had a few people lose 2 games and now be out of the cut, no longer able to be the world champion this year.
Yeah, that's got to be devastating for them. And even though we have taken over the stream here as the Slums cast, we will not cut the feed because at least we have some of that bad beat energy.
Absolutely. So we do have a matchup here. Speaking of a bad beat, so Nykride, Neil on the left here on your screen, was actively lamenting the fact that he drew the Sable into Aginfusion matchup when we chatted briefly before the game. So we know at least how one of these players feels about the matchup, but I don't think it's certainly not open and shut. We've seen players who are definitely not favored in the game come back and win time and time again. And honestly, I think it's just because of that world champ difference we talked about earlier this weekend. I won't say who, but one of our day 2 competitors last night, we were talking after the event had finished up, said, you know, what I'm really sad about the fact that I'm going to win the world championships is I won't have time to draft.
Ha!
And that's exactly the energy that our competitors bring to this top 16, to this day 2. I'm looking forward to this match. What do you think about this matchup, Josh?
I think that this matchup is great. It's been one of the most interesting ones on the weekend. Jinteki not entirely unexpected. We did give out a shout out to Jinteki on day 1, but not really the dominant pick over the field, and not actually the dominant pick over the cut. We were seeing a lot of other competitors on HB.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So Neil showing the stream the hand. So we see multiple Bravados in there. We see a Nuka. I think that's a simul. No, it's not a simul chip. Hard to see from here. Sorry, but definitely saw a Nuka. Definitely saw 2 Bravados. So a pretty strong opening hand there from Sable.
Absolutely. And we haven't started yet.
Haven't started yet. Players are still
bit.
deciding moles right now, I'm pretty sure. We do see, I love this mark token tech, the arrow. This is my server, I'm getting in.
That's quite good. Another great thing from Nykride's side is that there are some additional stakes on this particular match. We learned just moments ago that Nykride is on a team with Zinchling, Tak, and Timmy, who are all also in the cut.
Yes.
And their team is currently unnamed.
It is an unnamed testing group.
It's an unnamed testing group, and the person who gets to name it is the person who finishes the highest in Worlds.
So there is a lot more than just finishing here on the line. There is a lot more than just a trophy on the line. There is the eternal bragging rights of getting to name your testing group on the line.
Absolutely. Disrespecting your best friends is better than being the world champion of Netrunner.
Let's talk a little bit about the decks. How about that?
Yeah, we should probably do that.
So this is a Sable list. This is the only Crim in the cut. On a lot of what you would expect from a Sable, you have the Bravados, you have the Carpe Diems. One spicy include that I'm already seeing 3 cards in the list. 1 Forged Activation Orders.
Forge activation orders. Wow. Classically, a Ranji Doge card played as a meme. I love the energy here. I love the energy.
Absolutely. Plenty of other normal criminal tricks like mutual favors. 2 pinhole threadings, probably notable in this matchup because you often have the Charlottes or the defensive upgrades out of Aginfusion. And we do see this is the first turn from this Sable. It was just an ice and an ice hedge fund start from Aginfusion, kind of the canonical corpse start.
Absolutely.
But we do see Mark get rolled at his HQ. Let's see where Sable goes from here.
Absolutely. Are you going to see any early runs and face checks from Sable is the question.
That is a sure gamble. That is an alt art sure gamble. Got the 2 dice bouncing on something. A great little alt art. We do see the Nuka come down. That Nuka is that's an alt from this weekend, correct? Exclusive. You can only get it at the World Championships.
Yep. It is indeed. We are seeing Nykride actually build up, and probably a smart move, as opposed to the Aginfusion that we saw on stream recently. This one has a lot more threatening ice. This one is packing the full complement of Anansi, so it's got that spider online.
Second gamble.
It's got Cloud Eater. It's got Saisentan.
Cloud Eater.
Yeah.
Oh, Cloud Eater.
Rocking
That's
Cloud Eater.
about the worst thing you can hit, right? Because it says, I'm not going to trash a program. I'm not going to trash a hardware. I'm going to trash anything.
Absolutely. Unless you take 2 tags and some damage.
So we do see you will see a second person on the king's side. So the king is visually impaired and does have an oracle here, who is here to basically explain what is happening in the board state, tell the king what cards are being drawn, what cards have been revealed. So that is why you're seeing a third person. And the oracle is Peter H. Has graciously volunteered a lot of time this weekend. Obviously, the king has made the top cut. So just a fantastic donation of time. Another example of this community being fantastic.
Yeah, shout outs to Peter H. He is truly doing Jackson Howard's work.
Absolutely. So we do see Mark get rolled again. It is R&D this time. Now, all 3 centrals are iced up for the king. That's really how you want to start as Aginfusion against a deck like Sable, who gets so much incidental value from those spare runs on the marked server. Now, if you're the king, what sort of ice, and you do have access to the deck list, so you can probably make a pretty informed decision here. What sort of ice do you think are going on the centrals in this matchup?
So I would say that you definitely want the spiky ice, especially because on the remote you can trash one of your unresed to direct the runner back into that spiky ice.
I think the technical term is boop.
Yeah, you can boop them back into the spiky ice, but you are not unhappy early game to just have tattoo bolas on the centrals as well. So this,
right, because those become the spiky ice when you swap
absolutely
them.
They do, and they are also, as we've seen across the entire weekend, they are a key economic piece in these Jinteki lists, and why Jinteki is roaring back to life when everybody thought, it might be done.
So speaking of that Cloud Eater, speaking of that full complement of Anansi's, we do see a Carmen hit the board for the full 5, unfortunately, because it is so important to be able to break Anansi from word go before you run any of these servers.
Absolutely. Although, as we could see from the deck list, again, it's not the only threatening ice that Jinteki has now.
Oh, not even close. No. We do see a Spin Doctor hit the board, so that will draw 2 cards here. The king thinking it over. Plenty of cards in hand. A lot of options here. Looks like not satisfied with just those 2 cards, drawing an additional 1. Thinking over the play again.
Are we sensing a flood here?
It easily could be a flood, because this will allow a few agendas to be shuffled back. And also it would explain why there's only 9 credits sitting here. So that is a subliminal messaging, so that will be 10 credits. And discarding 1 card easily could be an agenda, right? You shuffle back a hedge fund, shuffle back an agenda, and suddenly you're in better economic shape if you draw that hedge fund and you've gotten rid of one of the agendas. You probably want to keep an agenda here, honestly, if you're the king, right? Because Aginfusion does really thrive on getting an early score to set up later plays if it's something like a Nisei. What is the agenda suite in this Aginfusion deck?
So this one is also spicy compared to the last Aginfusion that we saw. So we have Bacterial Programmings, which has been a classic agenda. Well, it's been a classic agenda in these lists. We have the full complement of Send a Message.
Send a Message, all 3 of them.
Not normally all 3 on those 5/3s, but we do have that in this list. And the final topper is Sisyphus Protocol.
Sisyphus Protocol. Oh, wow. Okay, we got to talk about Sisyphus Protocol, because that is a spicy include. The first time each turn the runner passes a Rezzed Code Gator Sentry, so it doesn't have to be breaks, doesn't have to be fully goes
Can
through.
be bypass.
Can be bypass as well, but it can also be has to tank all the subs of.
Yes. Yes.
Getting to force that re-encounter, it is such a powerful.
Coming back to the game, we have
effect.
seen a Hermes come down on the table.
Hermes, a very impactful card in this matchup because naturally, Aginfusion with that ID ability wants to leave face down ice, has a strong incentive to have face down ice in these servers to be able to use the ID ability and boop into something nasty. And obviously, that is a natural target for Hermes. Hermes is kind of that Leela bounce ability is the natural predator of situational face down ice. And the situation really does matter here, right? Because you want those face downs on the inside so that you drag them through an ice, force them to spend resources, and then you use your ID ability.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you want to make those centrals as spiky as possible. The one thing that is a saving grace against the Hermes, again, is Tattoo Bola. Classically,
Yes.
Again, doing work in Jinteki. It has proven to be a incredible card across the weekend.
Absolutely. So we are seeing another ice install on HQ. Oftentimes against Criminal, HQ is the server you want to defend the most. And into this list, that is certainly a good idea. We do see a number of cards that care about HQ accesses. We do see, for instance, Wake Implant, and obviously just the Mark as well. And one of the big multi-access pieces in this deck is the Twinning, which can go onto any central, but obviously HQ is one of the most important ones there for a Criminal.
Absolutely.
Notably, though, we do not see, for instance, a diversion of funds in this list. So that is one of the premier pieces of HQ pressure that the King knows is not going to be a factor in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as a reminder to those of you at home, the top cut does feature open deck lists, so the players are allowed to study the deck lists of their opponents before they go into the match.
That's correct. So not only do we know this, the players know it as well, pretty importantly.
So we're seeing a Bravado.
A Bravado. This is one of 3 in the deck, going into R&D. Let's see if there's a res on this ice. There is a res. That is a Cloud Eater, right?
That is a Cloud Eater.
That is 10 credits for Cloud Eater. Once again, those subs, trash an installed runner card, give the runner 2 tags, do 3 net damage, and whenever an encounter with the ice ends, if it was rezzed this turn, you can trash an installed runner card unless the runner takes 2 tags or suffers 3 net damage. So that is an incredibly punishing face check, especially
Absolutely
with impactful runner cards here like Hermes. However, Carmen can break Cloud Eater.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And at the moment, taking 2 tags would not be the worst thing in the world. It looks like that is the option here. Sable is on 4 tags, it looks like. Chose to not break the tag sub and chose to take the tags on the encounter ability. So this should be seeing a card in R&D unless there's a jack out.
So the card was already seen.
It was already seen.
An
What
ice.
was it?
It went back.
It was an ice. It went back. Okay.
I believe it was another Cloud Eater. I wasn't quite sure.
Ooh, another Cloud Eater. So installing ice on the outside of I think that was just setting down a card.
No, it looks like there was maybe a run on HQ.
Oh, a run on
and
HQ,
then
and that was a boop into the Cloud
boop
Eater.
into the Cloud Eater.
Well,
So
that's going to
using
be
that
more
spiky
tags.
ice.
That's 8 tags. What a! It only has to be 6, I believe, because. Oh no, it was res this turn.
Yeah.
So the re-encounter does happen.
Oh, yeah, it was yesterday. I'm on 8 tags.
So sure enough, that is 8 tags. It's not quite 53, but it is effectively 53. These are never going away.
These tags are never going away.
There's no reason to clear them except for your resources, which the resources that this crim list is running are, let's see, we've got Class Act. That's one you'd like to keep on the board if you can, but it's also not the worst thing in the world if it goes down. We see Miss Bones, which is probably not the most impactful card in this matchup. We see Daily Casts. I guess that's now a blank card.
The twinning is probably the most impactful thing. And I think as Brandon, you're happy to keep that off the table.
Oh, absolutely. That's an instant trash if it comes down, I have to think. Even with the King only being on 1 credit currently. So we do see the Tattoo Bola res. The Tattoo Bola will bounce. And then we see install So we see an install in a remote server, install ice over that remote server, and advance. That's where that credit went. Are there NGOs in this list?
It does not look like it.
Interesting. So what could this advanced card
So
be?
it could be a Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte seems like the most likely answer.
It could be a spicy push.
That would be pretty spicy. Yeah. Just install advance. This is to send a message. Come get it. I want to res some ice.
You never know. It would turn that Hermes offline to be able to res some ice.
It would. So we do have a Nuka come down. That's a. I would imagine the king probably has no interest in trashing Nuka just because the king is currently on 0 credits. Make that 4.
It is a Charlotte.
That is a Charlotte. But still, on only 4 credits, 2 credits is a lot to trash just a Nuka. Now, Charlotte is, again, one of the premier economic threats that this archetype has available to it, this Aginfusion. It threatens, if it continues to stay in this remote and tick turn after turn, to just be the entire economy for the deck. Allow so many ice reses, so many ice installs. Do we see a Lacosta grid in this deck to kind of clicklessly and moneylessly
It does look
charge up the Charlotte?
Yeah, we do indeed have 3 Lacosta grids.
That might be the card that just got installed.
I would bet a large sum of money that is indeed the case.
And I would guess potentially a Tatu Bola on the outside of the server. Currently, it keeps Sable out, and even if Sable finds a way to get through, at least you make some money back on that Charlotte. Though it does look like there's a manual advance on the Charlotte this turn. Going down to 2 credits. That is still enough to res a Tatu Bola.
Yep. Brandon basically just saying you won't.
I think also saying even if you come in here and even if you come in here and you trash the Lacosta grid, I will still get my Charlotte bucks from popping Charlotte as you run into the server.
Yeah, and Nykride would actually have to spend all turn doing so because he would have to at least first click for credits to get to the Lacosta trash cost, which is 4.
It is 4. Yeah, that is a lot of money
And
to
then
trash.
once he's on 4, after taking 2 clicks for that, he would also have to risk a boop back into the Cloud Eater.
Yeah, that's really the big threat right now is running into any face-down ice just means you are running into Cloud Eater, and Cloud Eater does not mess around, let's say.
Yeah, no one wants to eat a Cloud Eater.
Oh, that's a forged activation orders, isn't it? On this remote ice. That's one way to get around face-down ice is put it in the trash.
Yeah, yeah.
The king clearly either not on enough credits to res that ice or not willing to res it. So now this is an open server. We're going to see Charlotte go down for gaining 3 credits as the runner comes in. We do see the Lacosta, that looked like.
Yep.
So not enough money to trash the Lacosta on Nykride's side, but the job is basically done. The Charlotte is there. The Lacosta isn't gaining value anymore.
Yeah, just forcing Charlotte to get gone, not allowing Brandon to have that economic engine. We
do see another install advance.
So possibly another Charlotte.
Yeah, this is one of the benefits of
And then a piece of
having.
ice.
This is one of those benefits of having open decklist is the king knows there's only 1 forged activation orders.
Yep.
That trick isn't going to come back this turn because if you see this in Swiss, you see 1 forged activation orders. You have no idea what's going on. You have no idea how many are there. There might be 5 in the deck for all you know. So you might be a little gun shy to make a play like this, but the king knows this is safe. I've defused the forge activation orders. A lot of value came out of it, but now I can go back to my plan A of force you to encounter the snake time and time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. He took that turn right on the nose. As you said, knows that there's only 1 of those left, and said, "Wait, hold up, let me rebuild this server."
Oh, here does come a Mystic Mamie. That is one of those. Again, there are 8 tags right now, very easily trashed by the king. But it's not clear that right now just dripping 1 credit a turn conditionally is worth it. I don't know if the King's going to take the time or the money to actually trash this Mystic Mamie. Especially knowing that the twinning, which is kind of one of the things Mystic Mamie is here to do, charge up that twinning, very unlikely that that's ever going to stick on the field for any real amount of time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we are seeing the res of Charlotte. We're seeing a counter removed res of Lacosta.
There we go. This is the I spend 3 money up front, and now forever, until you're able to get into this server, I make 4 plus an extra card every single turn.
Clicklessly.
Clicklessly. Your go. What does your deck do?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a rough spot for Nykride to be in.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we do not see inside job, anything along. Oh no, I'm 100% wrong.
Yeah,
I'm literally
inside
looking
job
at the
there.
list. There are 2 inside jobs in this list, so that could be. Now, Nykride only on 1 credit.
We are
so
seeing the Mamie trash, though.
the Mamie is trashed. Interesting. Okay, so the Mamie goes down. That would be a way to help pay for inside job this turn. So that might be part of the logic here. Oh, but we do
another
also see
ice.
another ice on the outside. So that is representing I boop you into Cloud Eater, and I still have an ice to potentially res.
So just to recap the turn, it was a manual advance on Charlotte, another piece of ice, and a trash of the Mystic.
That's such a cool turn. That is such a cool turn. Okay, so we see a
Mark on
draw to
Archives.
start off with.
Now, seeing as Archives is the only Central's ice that is not rezzed, if Nykride is going to risk coming into Archives, are you going to res? Are you going to snap res that? If you can.
Or do you snap boop?
You do have options. Plenty of options.
The King thinking through options as well at the moment.
So
Plenty of cards in hand right now.
The turn did come back around to the King, and the King is back on 8 credits.
Back on 8 credits, back on 1 advancement on Charlotte. So Lacosta does basically just keeping up the ability to pop this Charlotte for 3 credits clicklessly at any time.
Absolutely.
Definitely valuable if Nykride finds a way to get into the server. Also just valuable if you find yourself short on a res cost for some reason. We do see a Hansei review. So
Yeah.
Hansei review, throwing another card face down into the bin, going up to 13 credits. So 13 credits is enough to threaten anything in the deck in terms of ice. It could even could technically threaten another Cloud Eater, but I would imagine less of that because that is a unique card. But certainly threatening an Anansi, threatening an Anansi with a Hansei to bounce back from credits afterwards. There's a lot that this honestly represents. 13 credits.
So it looks like Brandon is icing R&D, getting that second ice there, turning off the boop into the Cloud Eater, but also turning down the likelihood of one of Nykride's outs, which is sniping some agendas off the top. Because there are some
Absolutely.
bacterials in this list, the King is going to be able to control the flow of agendas very readily. Protecting R&D is definitely one of the things that is going to benefit him long term.
Yeah, and bacterial programming and send a message are defensive, kinda. They defend themselves, sort of, right? They get, you get a strong effect when they get stolen, but there's nothing up front to make it harder for the runner to steal them. So touching points is pretty easy in this deck. It's just about things might happen to you afterwards. So we do see a Carpe Diem here, gaining some credits. Has the option to run the marked server. At the moment, not likely to. I would. So hold on. What happened there?
We
That's
saw
a boomerang, correct? That's a boomerang.
on
Okay.
Tatubola,
Yeah. So boomerang was on Tatubola.
and there is going
We
to
do
be an
see the
access
swap.
here. It's a Tatubola.
And that's the Tatubola.
Yep. It might not be the same one.
One of the classic plays in this meta. Go through a Tatubola. Tatubola bounces to hand. Access Tatubola. Wonder if they're on 2 Tatubola and there was a second in hand, or you just got very lucky. Always blessed to see a Tatubola. Amen.
Yeah, just doing so much work on the day.
And this also potentially turns on, if you run HQ again, I now am able to res another nasty ice to boop you into, while still having R&D protected with this extra ice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the king is going to look for a second threat to have online on the centrals.
Absolutely.
Something big, nasty, and expensive.
Yeah, I'm imagining this is just representing, I want to have at least one ice that actually ends the run on R&D. But I also want to have something nasty on another server. Because as we've talked about, that's very important. Hasn't had a chance to run or to res Archives Ice. As we've talked about, it is likely that Archives Ice is something pretty gross, and an Odyssey would certainly fit the bill.
Absolutely, and the king is on 21 credits now, so not only can res anything in the deck, can res almost 2 of anything in the deck.
Definitely 2 of anything in the deck, absolutely. And Sable sitting on 8, so getting credits back in the pool, but a third ice going on to R&D, just making it even less likely. Oh, and here comes a hedge fund. And another ice on HQ.
So double icing everything but archives here.
Making it very difficult to get into these servers. This is what we talked about. This is why this is a tricky matchup for Sable. Sable wants to be getting successful runs.
You want
Ideally
5 clicks?
every turn.
Yeah.
Because you get 5 clicks if you make successful runs. It is just so hard to make a successful run when you have to break through a 6 strength snake god.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we're seeing a third ice on R&D as well. I missed that one.
Yeah, third ice on R&D came down last turn along with the second on HQ.
Yeah, they cleaned up the board a little bit, so it's a little easier to see that now. So
Continuing to click up here from Nykride, that is a class act. So possible that the class act will not stick around very long because it does have that filtering effect for the remainder of the game, but will at least come down and draw 4 cards here at the end of turn. So lots of, I see 3 dirty laundries in hand. Very tough to play right now. Very tough to play because you are spending 2 up front, and there is a pretty strong chance you're not actually going to get those 5 on the back end.
yeah, I think as Nykride, you just have to assume that those are probably going to be dead cards unless you take a risk.
It's just like being a writer or an actor in Hollywood. The points on the back end are not real. We do see the Charlotte popped, though. So that is signaling to me probably an install advance in the remote.
Or just
an
an install advance.
right. You don't need to install twice because you have the Lacosta.
Yeah, absolutely.
Install advance in what
Anoetic
defensive
Void.
upgrades? Anoetic Void. Okay. So Anoetic Void, obviously, again, one of the premier defensive threats in this meta. Whenever the runner approaches the server, you can pay 2 credits and trash 2 cards from HQ to just say, get out.
Yeah, absolutely you can. And one of the things with Anoetic Void and the Aginfusion ability is it takes at least 2 clicks to get into that server. Or 3,
At
actually.
least 3, right?
At
Yeah.
least 3 clicks. So you're getting false leaded and possibly booped into something terrible.
Though at the moment, not being booped into anything terrible, it's just, you know, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad that you have to spend so many clicks, especially if some outermost ice gets rezzed. You have to run through it once, get booped, run through it another time, get voided, run through it another time, cards and credits willing, potentially get voided again.
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah.
So potentially taking your whole turn.
And certainly the credits are there on the King's side. We see this looks like 26 credits for the King, only 8 here for Nykride. So a bit of a tough position for Nykride, but then again, has the class act to start filtering draws, really getting the cards that are going to help the most in this matchup.
Yeah, I think Brandon, knowing the list, is going to know, you know, when trashing this class act might be a good idea
So we
or
see
helpful,
a-
or even if it's not
We
helpful
see
at
a
all.
boomerang here, right? Is that the boomerang art or is that the pinhole art? Couldn't quite see it from here. Also couldn't quite see if that was the card that was taken.
Yeah, I think Brandon may be thinking, if you pinhole me, whatever,
Yeah.
you know.
All right. Cool. You got the void. Enjoy the. Enjoy running into border control on archives is what this looks like, correct?
Yeah. Looks like it is.
Yeah, border control and archives.
Border control, another way to eat clicks.
Absolutely.
So,
And it is it's another way to eat clicks, and it is certainly another way to deny successful runs just in any context.
so notably, the king is only on one border control, not on the full complement. However, there is an MIC, a military industrial complex, in the deck as well. Also, only a 1x.
Yeah, the border control on archives makes a lot of sense. So one of the key breakers in this Sable list that has not come down yet, and I imagine has not come down because it is difficult to make it work in this sort of board state, is Amakua. So throwing a 1-strength ice on the remote that'll passively make a little money when you throw someone into it, keeping the really spiky ice on the other centrals. So basically, this is just saying Amakua can't get there by itself. You're never going to invalidate my ice board state just with your Amakua. It is going to take something like a boomerang. It's going to take something like a Hermes bounce. But it's pretty tough, honestly, in this board state for Sable, I would say. The king seems pretty in control of this game. We see 4 advancements on this card in the remote. That is threatening a creditless score out plus an install advance, do something else in the next turn. The king seems poised, if cards allow, to start chaining scores here.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember if Bacterial does anything on score.
It's scored or stolen, so you do get to still look at the top 7 cards of R&D, draw as many of them as you want, trash as many of them as you want, and stack your deck with the rest.
Yeah. So, chaining Bacterials is definitely something that could be done, or a free, really big piece of ice with Send a Message. Although Brandon is less concerned about that now, I would assume.
Yeah. Oh, whoops! This Anansi showed up. That's weird. We do see Amakua hit the bin, just an acknowledgement that it is so difficult to get through in this board state. Lacosta does throw a 5th advancement on the installed card in this remote. Subliminal comes back. Subliminal, such a strong card in this matchup because it is already so difficult for the runner to make successful runs. You get it back so many turns in a row.
Just so much
And
passive
that is
econ here.
a send a message. So it is 3-0.
Yep.
Points are officially on the board. The king will be the winner of this game if nothing changes and it goes to time. And we do see an MIC get flipped up by Send a Message for free. The message is sent. The message is the military-industrial complex is strong.
Yeah, and the message is I can basically res anything that you're going to try to come
We do see
through.
a Hermes bounce. So a Hermes bounce makes HQ significantly weaker here. Only 1 ice, the ice goes back.
Yeah.
That's why you wait with the Lacosta, right?
Yep.
That's why you score before click 1, so you're able to counteract the Hermes bounce, install advance.
Install advance in the remote. So, as Nykride, what are your outs here? What are you doing?
Honestly, hope that the king stops playing this tight and this well. I think realistically the answer is you need to start. You need to get set up, you need to get your breakers installed, and you need to get a little bit more money so you can start trying to snipe it in centrals. I could definitely
central?
see there being another. I could see there being another agenda in HQ right now, honestly,
Okay.
because just the scoring server took so long to set up. I could see there being one more there. I think you try to get it there. You try to bounce this agenda.
We're getting another.
So we see a bravado.
We're getting another
So
breaker down.
Hermes is always an out, right? You bounce a thing that you're almost certain is an agenda here, get it back to hand, maybe you snipe it on another HQ run. I think that's the out here. You play for Hermes to do a lot of work for you.
So we're seeing a bravado on. It looks like archives.
On the Mark server, yeah. And we do see Kurapira come down, so that is the barrier breaker. Going to break 1, gain a counter. Kurapira does get a bypass ability at a certain number of counters. I believe it's 3. And the numbers stack up very well against border control because it is already at the 1 strength naturally.
We're going to see an access here, and there's
There's some Sisentons in there. I didn't really see... so Sisenton, notably, not super good against Carmen. Carmen's naturally at strength to break Sisenton, so not the best option here.
Not that the king really needs Saisaton in this particular matchup.
Not especially. No, not especially. The MIC rezzed on the outermost. That is a pretty nasty face check to run into, though. That is going to drain your clicks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was a run. That was a bravado. That's another bravado onto the marked server. It looks like. So that was kind of click 0. Let's say was that first bravado.
So Nykride moneying up, at least trying to get those credits up. Maybe can turbo draw towards some additional
I wouldn't be
breakers and tools.
I wouldn't be shocked if we see an HQ run here.
Over to me? Okay, counter.
Okay, no, I was wrong. That was click 4.
Yeah,
that was
it looks
click
like
4. Okay, so we do see the Lacosta tick in. Now, so the king has to decide. Am I going to score this out of the remote and allow a Hermes bounce? Or am I going to let it stick around for another turn and potentially allow a Hermes bounce on a good access? Those are really the two options right now. Neither of them's that appealing. Nykride did a great job that turn of using these strong one-shot events to really get money back up and start threatening the ability to actually make something happen on the board. That is one of the problems with these decks that have such strong run triggers is if you have one weak server, and it doesn't even have to be that weak, a single border control is honestly a good ice. But if you have one server that's weak enough that the runner can run it, they can gain enough value to suddenly put you in a tricky position. Now, the answer that the king has gone with is, I'm not scoring out this turn. I'm going to put another ice on R&D. I'm going to put another advancement counter on that. And one more thing. Let's find out what it is.
Yeah, so I believe this is telegraphing that there aren't really anything.
Another advancement. So
There
that
isn't
is,
really
that is
anything in
threatening.
HQ.
It's at least telegraphing, I don't want you to think there's anything in HQ.
Yeah, absolutely. But the game, Brandon, I believe, is telegraphing. The king is telegraphing that the game is on R&D, and with those 4 ice and 22 credits that you're staring down, I just don't think there's any way that Nykride can get into R&D to force that Hermes bounce.
I don't think so. So I think Nykride needs to ponder a little bit here and make a soul read. Is the king rusing me? Am I getting rused?
It's possible.
It
It's
certainly
possible.
is. Sometimes high-level play is mind games like this. So Unity is going to be the decoder for this Sable list. Has not come down. Does match up decently into the... actually, yeah, what are the code gates in this list for the king? How does Unity match up into that? So MIC is obviously a big one.
MIC
Is
and...
MIC the only one? MIC's the only, MIC's the only one.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's an important one because it is on this remote server. Is there a Vampira Nasa?
Vampira
There is
Nasa.
Vampira
Yep.
Nasa on this
Okay, there's
list.
2 of those.
And Unity actually does match up pretty well into Vampira Nasa at this point in the game, where there are, when Unity comes down, there will be 3 breakers installed, so you naturally get to strength with just 1 boost. And here is the Unity. So the Unity was in hand. Breakers are set up. 12 credits here for Nykride.
You still do have to spend 4 credits to break all those subroutines, though.
You do. It is. Well, you spend as many as you need to break, right? You don't have to break all of them in a lot of cases. But here we do see turn is passed back over to Brandon. That is another send a message. A second message has been sent. What is the message going to be?
I think the message is, I'm about to win this game.
I mean, the message is I'm on game point. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But what is the rezzed ice going to be? On HQ would make a lot of sense because that's your weakest server, and it is a Brawn 1.0 rezzed on
Showing the
HQ.
Brawn.
Now, notably, Kurapira is on 3 counters. That is an instant bypass with Kurapira if you want to go into HQ. So I'd imagine that if the king has any agendas, if there was one sneakily hiding in there despite the telegraph, or if one just got drawn this turn,
the unrezzed
probably
ice
going into the remote.
also gets bounced to HQ.
The unres and that's so the king's triggers do go first because it is the king's turn. So the king gets the res with send a message. That particular ice is protected from Hermes because it's now rezzed.
Yeah. Okay, so we're
And it goes
seeing a
back down on
reinstall.
the outside.
Well, we don't know it's the same ice. Could be something different.
We see a reinstall on the outside of HQ. We see an install in the remote. Do we see an advance? Because an advance threatens the game.
No advance.
Looks like we see a credit. We see a credit instead. So this is signaling to me, I think I need to res a fair amount of this ice. I'm not going for a scoring push this turn.
Or
The mark
possibly-
is HQ. The mark is HQ. That's interesting. HQ, I would imagine, is clean right now. It seems safer to put an agenda in the remote right now. There's almost certainly a void in there. We know there's the Lacosta, so one of these obviously has to be an upgrade, and it's most likely to be a void, I would think. I think it's probably likely that the other face down in the remote is a Charlotte to help draw to an agenda, because again, you get to do that clicklessly. It's just pure value. It's free real estate.
Yep. Yeah, I would guess that it's very possible that the king has not drawn into another agenda and just needs to find the final agenda to win the game. That is,
So it's simple. You just need to get into R&D, right? It should be easy.
yeah. Touch the agendas before the corp does. You only have to get through 4 large, nasty ice.
Just four. That's fine. That's not that bad. I am looking at the list. There are no sneak doors in here. Really, the multi-axis is the wake implant and the twinning, and we know the twinning is not relevant in this game because of those 8 tags.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the wake implant takes a while to charge up.
So this is the problem, though, that can happen with these 7 agenda decks, is that you can get to 6 points sometimes, and neither you or the runner can find
Yeah.
any agendas, and the agendas are just not coming into the game.
Here's a fun thing that can happen here. So you did mention that the 7th agenda was a Sisyphus protocol. How many points is Sisyphus protocol worth, Josh?
3?
It's a 5-2, isn't it?
A 5-2? I don't know off the top of my head, actually. Sisyphus protocol. Well, we'll have to check that out here soon.
Because the reason I bring it up is Nykride potentially needs to steal 3 agendas still. Stealing 2 agendas, I think, could still lead to being on 5 points. Unless I'm completely wrong about Sisyphus Protocol. I might be completely wrong about Sisyphus Protocol. Regardless, getting the 2 agendas in the first place is still going to be very hard. Right now, the king in a pretty commanding position, has an install advance in the remote, has 4 ice on R&D, one of which is an already rezzed Cloud Eater. This is going to be challenging. This is certainly going to be challenging.
It's certainly not looking good. You are correct. Sisyphus Protocol is a 5-2.
Yeah, so Nykride potentially needs to steal 3, but certainly needs to steal 2, and needs to do it quickly. Only 5 minutes remaining in the round.
Does Nykride have a Mad Dash?
I do not see a Mad Dash, no.
So it needs to steal 3 regardless.
Well, but I mean, could potentially... which of these is the higher seed? Because what happens in the double elimination cut here is whichever player is the higher seed, if there is a tie at the end of regulation, it does go, or if there's a tie after turns, then it does actually go to the higher seed.
Oh, yep, you are correct. That is some information that we do not currently have.
Yeah, unfortunately, the deck lists have the decks, but they don't have the seeds on them. So
yeah, so listeners at home, we'll figure out the seeds if that becomes relevant.
We will. Honestly, I'm not sure it's going to be relevant. We have another install advance in the remote here.
I think this is the game. This has to be the game.
It's certainly, it is presenting lethal. It is presenting that the game is over here. Can Nykride get in is the big question. Or more accurately, can Nykride get in enough times?
Yeah, because we do have a boop and an MIC that will be online and potentially a void as well.
Yeah, so click 1, you run in, you break through the MIC, it's expensive, you get voided, let's say. Click 2, you run back through the MIC, it's expensive, you get through, you get booped. Click 3, you run back. You can no longer fully break the MIC. Or MIC is 3 subs or 4?
MIC is
It's 3 subs.
3
It's-
subs.
It's loose click,
Yep.
loose click, and the run. Okay. So you can run through. You can still barely break. You can get all the way through. You can break. And at that point, I think you just get voided again.
Yeah,
There's enough
absolutely.
money, there's enough cards, you get voided again. Click 4, you run back. It doesn't matter if you can break MIC, you get MIC'd. So
Yeah.
I think this is just game, unless game is on the centrals, or more accurately, unless a Hermes bounce can be found in the centrals.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can bounce whatever it is in the remote.
Okay, so click 1. So click 1 is the twinning. So the twinning coming down, hoping to find some multi-access this turn. So we do have a Chesva. Oh, click 1 was Chesva comes down. And I think we might be seeing a rollback here. Yeah, so click 1, the Chesva comes down.
Yeah, it looks like the twinning was thought better of.
Okay. Yeah, Chesva makes a lot more sense if you are running the twinning. Okay, so
Boomerang.
click 2, Boomerang comes down.
We're going
That's-
for R&D.
That is such a cool Boomerang token.
Absolutely it is, but that is spicy. We're going after R&D here.
The king can res a lot of ice. So we do have an inside job on R&D that will make it easier.
Inside job
So
and boomerang.
barriers basically don't matter. Kurapura bypasses barriers. So this is barriers. You can res them. It doesn't matter that much. Saisentan, there are 4 cards in hand. It looks like there are 3 in hand. I think. Saisentan, are you bold enough to let it fire? I don't think so. Well, inside job, right? Inside job. You bypass it anyway. So we do see a Tatu Bola here, I believe.
Yeah, Tatu Bola.
Inner behind that. So that is just 1 credit with Kurapura. That's not a difficult break. It doesn't matter how difficult the break is though, because that is a swap and then a boop, and then you have to run back through whatever it got swapped with. So let's see. So Kurapura does break. We do see another counter go onto Kurapura. We do see the swap. We do see the gain 4.
Okay.
Going to
okay.
continue, it looks like. Do we see the boop here is the big question. I would imagine so.
What click is it?
It is click 2.
Click 2.
Or it should be click 3, I think.
On
Because
2
it
or
was
3,
it was Chesva and then Boomerang.
Yeah,
So we do see the boop. The boop is going into MIC, it looks like.
yeah, that's a good boop there.
Yeah, it works because there still aren't enough clicks to run the remote if there's void there.
Absolutely not. And you may also bait the runner into thinking that there's a chance and just void them at the end.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's there aren't enough clicks because you just get to void them.
Oh wait, actually, sorry. I'll spend 3 to
So it is definitely, it feels unorthodox to throw someone into the server, the remote, where the winning agenda is, at least we believe, sitting, but it seems completely safe. Like this is, you have reached your final form in terms of click taxing here for Aginfusion.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't look like we...
So the inside job is getting trashed. It looks like we're losing a click here. And it looks like this is time in the round.
Oh, wow.
So the king does have the 1 more turn to score out if this is an agenda. This is the last turn for Nykride. This is the last click for Nykride.
Oh, this has got to be devastating.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Nykride being at 0, even with a Hermes bounce to get this agenda off the table, can't get the win. Needs to get multi-access to get the win. And at the moment, there aren't any tools for multi-access that we can see. And based on the list, I think this one is over. I think the king has it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if there's anything that we're not seeing.
I think Nykride is just thinking it over before officially
What's your book, sorry? I have a Chesva with nothing on it, Unity
calling it.
with 4 counters, Boomerang that's installed on Cloud Eater, Hermes, and a class art. Res.
Okay, running through. That is a Brawn.
Spend 3 Kurapura to bypass it.
Kurapura does immediately bypass that. We do get a break of 2 subroutines on Cloud Eater. And we will see 1 card here. Going up to 10 tags.
That'll stay.
And that was an ice, right? No Hermes bounce.
Yeah.
So that is, I believe that's it by Nykride. Yeah, it goes up to 2 credits. GG, we see the handshake.
concede.
Congratulations to the King. The King gets to continue on in this top cut. This was a fight for your tournament life, and the King comes out victorious. Congratulations to Nykride for a fantastic run. Makes it into the top 16.
Absolutely.
Finishes in the top 12. What an incredible run by Nykride.
It is an incredible run. We'll have to see how the rest of his team did. I believe they're all in the chase bracket at this point.
I believe so.
And so the team naming rights are up for grabs. If one of them didn't make it through, then the team will still be unnamed. Brandon did fantastic, though. That was a clinic on how to secure that.
Very slow, very methodical, very cautious play, and it paid off. Scored once the window was finally open, and just kind of kept the foot on the throat the whole time. So a great win by the King. I believe we're going to. So we are seeing the bracket here. So it looks like Jantuno and Arizan are in the upper bracket finals next round. The winner of that game will automatically go through to the grand finals. We are also seeing, so that does mean that Santa is going down to the lower bracket. Jai and the King will play next round, and Tzinchling and Sokka will play next round. So unfortunately, that does mean that Ruben Peters, Timmy Wong, and Tak, their ride ends here, their run ends here. They are out of the top 16. Again, incredible finishes. Sad to see the People's Champ go. Always sad to see Timmy Wong go. One of the great stories of this tournament, coming basically out of retirement.
Yeah, coming out of retirement and making it to the top cut. This notably means, though, that Tzinchling is the winner for team naming rights.
You were right. Also, I was incorrect when I looked at the bracket. So Jantuno did actually lose to Deer here. So I believe Deer is going to be continuing on into the upper bracket finals.
It looks like we'll have to have a correction on that bracket between rounds. So we will get that done for stream. We'll verify that this is displayed correctly for everybody.
Absolutely. But it looks like most likely you will be seeing either Jai versus the King or Tzinchling versus Sokka in the next round. It would be my guess, but that is we'll find out next round. That's a problem for next round. For now, we're going to go to a quick break between rounds, but please come back because we have more top cut action. We are getting closer. There are only a few rounds away before we find out who is playing for the World Championship of 2024.
Yeah, so excited. Thanks, everybody. Come back soon.